Games rated E to M. Welcome to Nintendo Power Podcast. This episode, we reveal the winners of our Nintendo Power fan favorite games of 2020. My name is Chris Slate, and joining me for this special episode are Kit Ellis and Krysta Yang from Nintendo Minute. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having us, Chris. We're
Hi,
excited
Chris.
again. It's that time of year.
It is. It's an annual tradition. I always look forward to talking about some of the year's best games with you guys. And for those who may not have listened to one of these year-end episodes before, we won't be including the usual segments this time. Instead, we set up an online ballot and we asked Nintendo fans to vote on some of their favorite Nintendo Switch games from this year. And we're going to spend the whole episode discussing the winners. And I should make it clear here right from the start that we're just doing this for fun. There aren't any actual awards to hand out, and the nominees mostly come from games that those of us on the Nintendo Power Podcast team have personally enjoyed throughout the year. And obviously, we haven't played everything. But this is just a fun way for us to remember and to recommend some really amazing games. And you guys gave us a great response out there, so a big thanks to everybody who voted. Now, I'm the only one who knows which games won every category because you both wanted to be totally surprised. So are you ready to be surprised?
Yes,
So
always.
ready.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get started. We have 13 categories, and our first is Merry Multiplayer. Obviously, these are great multiplayer games. And the nominees were Animal Crossing New Horizons, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, Minecraft Dungeons, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe. And the winner is... Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yay!
Yeah, not a big surprise there. Obviously, Animal Crossing New Horizons was such a big game this year, and I think one of the best-known features was the ability for everyone to visit each other's islands. I certainly took advantage of that a lot myself.
You know, you saw people really, using this to get together this year when you couldn't have, actual physical gatherings. So you saw people having graduations or birthday parties or other sorts of celebrations. So it does make sense that it would stand out this way.
Yeah, I was going to say this is actually my choice for Merry Multiplayer as well because I have to credit Animal Crossing New Horizons for saving Nintendo Minute this year. When we started to work from home, we were getting a little worried, like when are we going to be able to make another video? And we decided to do some episodes just in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and we were able to do that with the multiplayer mode, and it was actually really fun, and we've been doing it all year. So yeah, I had to definitely give some great credit to Animal Crossing New Horizons for allowing us to do that this year.
Now, would this have been your picks as well? Or is there another game you guys want to maybe give a special shout out to in this category?
I wanted to give some credit to Clubhouse Games. I think that was really kind of just a great collection of different games that were really easy to get into and, some of which were entirely new to me. So I thought it was just really cool to try those out. And it was just such an easy multiplayer experience to get into.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that might have been my pick, although it's easier to say that since Animal Crossing New Horizons already got love from the fans. But I've had a lot of fun with my kids playing Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, especially Blackjack. Just all the crazy sessions we've had with that have been really amazing.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot of new games playing Clubhouse Games that I never thought existed. So that was pretty cool. It was like an interesting history of games around the world.
We finally learned how to play Hanafuda, which was amazing.
We did. I know. We've been wanting to learn for so long. We finally learned how to play. It's actually really fun. So definitely, I think people should try out all of the different games from around the world that maybe, kind of foreign, but they all turned out to be great.
Yeah. All right, now moving on to the second category, Fresh Ideas. And the nominees were Cardo, Hades, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, and Super Mario Bros. 35. And the winner is... Mario Kart Live Home Circuit.
I'm not surprised, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's what I would have gone with too. There was definitely a bit of that Nintendo magic the first time you get that all set up, and then you finally see Mario driving around on your Nintendo Switch, and really like an almost out of body experience when you see him drive by you. That was really like a wild moment.
Yeah, that's my pick as well. It's such a crazy, like, I think it's called mixed reality, but it scrambled my brains because it was like you saw yourself in the camera and then you saw what was happening on screen with all the different like additions that was added to your real life course that you made, and then you saw it seeing you. So it was really weird, but so cool. And I think people have gotten very imaginative with their courses as well, which I love to see.
I do want to give some props to Hades just for, shaking up the roguelike genre. And I think that can be kind of a challenging genre for people to understand or get into at times, because you've got roguelikes and you kind of need to know what that name means and sort of all the history that goes into that. And then you've got the roguelite, which is also kind of a subset of that. But I think that this game really made that whole category super accessible and just super easy to get into, and had a lot of narrative hooks for why you were going through these scenarios again and again.
Yeah, I think in a way Mario Kart Live Home Circuit had an almost unfair advantage with the whole hardware angle as well. I think when you look at actual just creative, innovative ideas in games, every one of these games that were nominated brought something really fresh and cool to the table for sure. All right, so for the next category, intense action, the nominees were Hades, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Streets of Rage 4, and Super Mario Bros. 35. And the winner is... Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity.
Wow, so far I'm 3 for 3 with the fan vote, which is very fun. That was my pick as well for intense action. And, those games are really, really known for that type of, action-based gameplay. You're, blasting through those mobs. And this one was especially satisfying because I think in Breath of the Wild, you never felt I guess I never felt super powerful. Like my stuff kept breaking. And
Speak for yourself.
Oh, sorry. I just never felt like I could like really do that. And in Hyrule Warriors, you're just like all those moblins and bokoblins, and you're just like blasting through them. So it was really fun, and definitely filled with lots of action throughout the game.
Bro, do you even no scope 360 Lionels? Bro.
Yeah, I think the game really lived up to the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. When you played that first game, they talk a lot about what had happened 100 years ago, and you see the remains of these massive battles, and you just imagine, how intense it must have been back then. So to get to experience that now in Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, I really felt like they delivered on what I pictured in my head.
I gave the nod to Hades here, and there were just so many moments in that game where things got really heated and there were enemies everywhere, and I was just going off of instinct and muscle memory and reflexes, and it was like a cloud of smoke, and then all of a sudden the room had been cleared, and I don't really know how. It's like I blacked out, and it's like, oh.
You went into a trance,
this happened.
a Hades trance.
And I really remember the first time that I defeated Hades, who is the end boss of the game. Hopefully that's not a spoiler. The game's name is Hades. And I was legitimately like I could feel my heart pounding. I was breathing so quick. I might've been shaking. It was just like such a big, intense moment.
It's not great when you're playing a game like that and you're nervous because your hands get sweaty and then you're like trying to
start
grip
to mess
onto
up.
you start to mess up. Totally. I definitely got that feeling when I was playing Hades as well. The other one I think a little shout out deserves to go out to is Super Mario 35, which is really fun. And I know, Chris, you've had some trauma with Tetris. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I love Tetris 99, and this was right up my alley. That same kind of, last person standing action was so great.
Yeah, and this one I think was even more challenging. I'm not, a very good platformer, so I think it was just a lot harder for me. But when you get to those last few players standing, you're like trying to hang on for dear life, and there's enemies everywhere. It's gets a little hairy, but it's super fun to see that. game come out this year to mark the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers.
Absolutely. And that would have been my pick only because, all of these games, there's really intense action. But when you know it's that you're playing against 34 other people, it just, you really want to win that much more. And especially if you get down to like the final handful of people, it gets so intense and you're getting so many enemies dropped on you that it's hard not to freak out. But if you can hang on and manage to win out in the end, it's so satisfying.
That's the key to all these games. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
Deep breath.
And also in life, don't freak out.
That should have been the name of the category. Don't freak out. All right, moving on to the next category, we have Animal Crossing New Horizons activity. So these are some of the favorite things that players love to do in this game. And the nominees were hang out with island residents, house decorating, island decorating, or multiplayer with friends and family. And the winner is island decorating. And it was pretty decisive. Island decorating got almost half of all the votes.
Wow.
With the remaining votes being split pretty evenly between the other categories.
That was my pick again. Wow. I'm so in tune.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
With
voters.
the fans.
I'm in it with them. That's what's going on. I think island decorating was my choice because that was something that is just new to Animal Crossing New Horizons, the terraforming and the ability for you to not only customize your home, but also your entire island was something that was just so new and fresh for this game that I loved. And I'm always impressed by the people that are able to have the foresight to terraform these amazing islands. That's not me, but there's been some islands that I've seen that are just absolutely incredible and so creative because they've used, all the different ways of terraforming and crafting and all those new sort of customization elements to make their islands just, so imaginative and so awesome. So kudos to those people. It's not me, but I still had fun doing it.
Well, you've done some pretty cool things. I've been to your island quite a bit, and you've got some good stuff. This was my pick as well, and the things that I have done, I would say, are humble at best. But the game really gives you all the tools to do it, and it's amazing just how many items that there are. I'm still, every day picking up the message bottle to see if I can get some cool new DIY that I haven't seen before. So, I have a Zen garden that's nice to hang out in. I've made this little area for all the holidays that was Halloween themed, and it's going to be themed more for the holidays coming up. So it's really just up to your imagination, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think for me, I was so impressed by what so many people did with their islands. And when I first started playing this game, I approached it like the previous Animal Crossing games where I focused more on house decorating because, you couldn't, decorate your town or your island like you could in this game and in those previous games. So it took me a while to warm up to island decorating and really appreciate everything you could do. But once I saw some of the other islands that people had done, that really got me interested. But my pick would have been multiplayer with friends and family, and that's actually the way that I discovered how amazing your islands could look. Because I have a lot of family members, I think like a lot of us do, who don't necessarily play as many games as we do, but Animal Crossing is something that they are super into. So for my sisters and nieces, nephews, and certainly my kids, we all had our own islands going around, checking everything out. And that was kind of like what you talked about before, Krysta, just a fun way to spend time together, given everything that's been going on this year. So moving on to the next category, it is Spiffy Indie. These are all great indie titles that we've enjoyed. The nominees were A Short Hike, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Spiritfarer. Now, before I reveal who won this category, I'm going to note that the first and second place vote getters were only separated by 2 percentage points.
Whoa!
And I wonder if either of you might have a guess as to which one of these games would have come out on top.
I'm going to say it's Hades on top.
That's my guess, too.
And then maybe A Short Hike or Ori for second place?
I think Ori could be the runner-up.
Well, the winner is Hades.
Aha!
39% of the vote, and at 37%, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So you guys were right on the money.
Nice.
You know,
That's
Ori
awesome.
and the Will of the Wisps is a game that I admit I have not played, but when we were going through all of these categories, it appeared again and again, and I really sort of did some research on it. I think it's going to be on my holiday break playlist.
Yeah, I haven't played too much Ori, but I do know that I have played a little bit of it. But there's so many great things that people say about the game, and also the graphics are so amazing. It's definitely something that I'm interested in playing a little bit more as well. Definitely not surprised about Hades either. I think that game has gotten so many players into this type of game and has gotten a lot of people saying how much they love it. I love it as well, and definitely great to see that take this category.
Absolutely. And, I think these 4 games really exemplify just the amazing indie content that continues to come to Nintendo Switch and just so many different types of experiences. And that's one of the most fun things I think I've had this year is just kind of dipping in and playing games like this because, you tend to see a lot of creativity, a lot of different types of experiences. And I think every one of these are games that people should check out.
Yeah, this is a really great list, and a short hike I think was one of my favorite experiences with the game this year. And kind of as the name implies, it's a short traversal up a big mountain, and it took me maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to finish. But it was just so packed with things to do that it felt like I got such a full experience out of that. And I really didn't know what this game was going into it. I thought it was more of a, take in the story that slowly unfolds before you, but there's got a lot of action and a lot of mechanics, and it's just so compact and great. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I actually picked that game for this category for myself, A Short Hike. And I totally agree. It was such a small little compact experience, but it was so, sweet and heartfelt. And there's also this like progression that you get in the game with your little character that I wasn't expecting, that you would kind of have that for a game that's so short. And it was a really fun and unexpected experience. And I really enjoyed it. And it was just one of those games that kind of surprised me this year. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out that game, I think you definitely should play it. And it's really short, so easy to jump into.
We haven't said anything about the fan pick, though, Hades. Maybe we should say something about that. But no, I mean, super giant games. And we had the great opportunity to speak to Greg Kasavin, who's the creative director. And he was on this very podcast a few months ago as well, I know. But it just seems like Super Giant Games is operating at such a high level at just every phase of game development. The action is so tight and like we said, so intense. The story is so multi-layered and fun, and the writing just sucks you in, and the art is amazing. All those characters, people were just so enthralled by it all. So like all around, just a great package.
Yeah, Hades is really one of those games where, every time you kind of complete a run and go get reset back to the start, and of course, you hold on to some of the things you're able to pick up in that run so that your next run is just a little bit more successful. And you can just keep doing that cycle over and over again, growing, getting stronger, getting a little farther each time. And then, like you said, the characters and the story are so interesting that it's another reason that you really are compelled to just keep exploring more of that world. So that would have been my pick as well.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about Hades is that it doesn't discourage you, even if you fail. When you first start playing that game and you're sort of getting used to the mechanics, I don't think any of us really made it very far, maybe just the first few rooms or not even to the first boss. And then it's easy, I think, with games like that to just kind of give up because you're like, oh, it's too hard, I'm not going to keep going. But I think Hades does a great job of sort of giving you just enough for you to want to keep going, whether it's a new item or you're unfolding a bit more of the story, or you're learning something about the character so that you can use that in your next run to go a little further. And the way they like incrementally give that to you makes you just keep coming back to it, which is really amazing because usually I'm not the one to like keep going with those kinds of games. I give up pretty easily, but I definitely was able to keep going with Hades all the way until I was able to beat Hades, and that's pretty rare. So I think that's something about the game that's really special.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the clear standouts of the year. Moving on to our 6th category, great graphics. The nominees were Crisis Remastered, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Paper Mario the Origami King. And the winner just happened to be the game that I would have picked and a personal favorite of mine, so I was really happy to see the fans give it some love in this category. And that game is Paper Mario the Origami King.
Yay, that's my pick too.
Awesome. It got nearly half of the fan votes.
Wow.
It's such a, they've really dialed in and nailed, in my opinion, kind of that paper aesthetic. And the way that they keep expanding on that and kind of doing the graphics for these games, it just continues to impress me. And I think that this one by far is the most impressive that they've done.
And some of you may know that I'm a Vista connoisseur and really like those big sweeping views that you can get. And this game had some. You really got a sense of how big the world was. And even very early in the game, you could kind of see far off into the distance with these big mountains, and you could see all those places that you would be traversing, which was just a great way to give a sense of the big adventure.
But what about the water?
Oh,
oh guys, don't forget the water was unreal. But just kidding. But beyond the beautiful water, I totally think that this game nails that like crafty sort of handmade quality that you get with paper. Even little things like you find like a crumpled item and then you like put it in some water and it becomes like a regular, fire flower again. Like those little details using the effects of what happens with paper and what happens with, origami being folded and things like that. It was just so awesome and so creative. And I really, really love that about the game.
There was a different game that I wanted to give a nod to, which is Crisis Remastered. And the kind of legacy of this game is really interesting. I forget exactly when it came out. I think it was mid-2000s, and it was a PC game. And it was really known as the thing to like test your rig. Is your rig bad enough to play this game? And everybody said, well, I guess I'll be playing Crisis in 2020 because that's how long it's going to take for me to get a PC that can play this thing. And it was just mind-blowing at the time of, whoa, these graphics look so good. And yet here we are in 2020, and I played it in handheld mode on my Nintendo Switch, and it looked phenomenal. It was just a mind-blowing kind of span of time of what happened of, oh, you needed the most beefy, gigantic PC to play this, and now I'm playing it on this small handheld device. It was just really cool.
Absolutely. And then Ori and the Will of the Wisps, I thought too, just had this beautiful fairy tale look to it. So really all four of these, especially if you're playing in handheld mode, I still get a kick of seeing games that can look that great, on a handheld system or a system that can be played, portably. So kudos to all of those titles. They're all beautiful and people should definitely check them out. Moving on to category 7, Super Soundtrack. The nominees were Animal Crossing New Horizons, Hades, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and Paper Mario the Origami King. I thought personally this was a really tough decision, and it was pretty close in the voting. But the fans declare that the winner is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Wow.
Nice. Good choice. I mean, I think there's a lot of new music that was written for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and the soundtrack is really, really phenomenal. And it does, the story is really good in that game. And the soundtrack really matches all of those big dramatic story beats to get you really, to pull at your heartstrings a little bit. No spoilers, but, that game has some moments that are a little tough. So the soundtrack does a great job of sort of enhancing that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you've got a Legend of Zelda game, you can probably expect some great music. And I think they not only delivered that with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, but it's also the kind of music that really fits kind of these epic battles really well.
I had a really hard time when I was thinking what I would have gone with here. I ultimately went with Animal Crossing New Horizons. And that's a game that I've played hundreds of hours of at this point. And just the fact that the music changes hourly. Now it's December. There's those sort of holiday versions of those. And I think of just how pleasant it is to come back no matter what time of day it is and just sort of have like a smile of, oh, it's 6:00, so I get this music. And honestly, I never got tired of those at all. So I just had to give the nod to that one just because it's been such a nice thing to come back to again and again.
That was my pick as well, actually, because there's just so much quantity of music, and I love the way that
music.
most music, super soundtrack music. But I love the way that the music changes on the hour, and it sort of is themed to the time of day. You know, I play Animal Crossing New Horizons every single day, and I usually check in the early mornings and also before bed, and it's just really nice when you like get onto your island and it's like morning time and the music is very relaxing. It's helping you like wake up, or you go into your island and it's nighttime and it's very, like soothing for you to kind of get ready for bed. All those little elements really make that game just one of those things that you just want to go back to every single day. And then not only that, but you have all the KK Slider music too.
Ooh.
So that's like a whole nother layer of music in Animal Crossing New
KK
Horizons.
Rockabilly,
So,
right?
KK
Chris, do you know what
Rockabilly,
rockabilly is? We don't. We tried to figure it out. We got confused.
I don't know that I can explain it. I can attempt to sing it, but that's not going to happen.
Podcast exclusive.
Really? Okay, well, when we all figure it out,
That'll be the spinoff.
We'll let each other know. That'll be the spinoff. Your Rockabilly album of the year.
Yeah, that'll be a whole other show. I think Animal Crossing, that the music isn't as in your face, but I think as you guys were kind of alluding to, it perfectly underscores the feeling and the tone of that game. So I think it's very deserving to have been a nominee, and it was tied for second in terms of the fan voting. But also tied with it was Paper Mario, The Origami King, and that might have been my pick because there are certain songs from that game that really got stuck in my head, especially for anyone who's been to, I think it's called Sniff It City in the game. There's this very kind of funky loop that plays out there in that Las Vegas type area in the desert. And just because of, the music's great, but just because there were a handful of titles that really stuck with me, that's one that I'm going to remember from this year for sure when it comes to the soundtrack.
That area was great for music because part of the task that you had was collecting those CDs for the DJ.
Oh,
and
yeah.
getting people out on the dance floor. And they had some really good tracks. Like they had like different genres of music, like pop music and rock music that you'd have to give to the DJ to get the dance floor going. And so that the music in that area especially was really good.
Yeah, and then of course there's a great sound test mode where you go back to the museum, I think it was, and you can play
That's right.
Any song in the game. So I was jamming to some of that Sniff It City. All right, so moving on to number 8. This category is called Sooo Relaxing. And the nominees were A Short Hike, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, and I Am Dead. And the winner... kind of unsurprisingly, was Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I think has to be the poster game for relaxation.
Yes. So with 5 O's, Animal Crossing New Horizons, very deserving of every O in the so. That was my pick as well. Like I mentioned before, I play the game every single day, and it's great. It's like my routine now. It's almost like part of your unwind routine after a long day where you're like, okay, I'm ready to relax. I'm ready to go to bed or whatever, and you you have to go to your island and just check on that a little bit and sort of relax there, and then you can get ready for bed. So that's been something that I've done literally since the game came out in March. So I don't know what I would do without Animal Crossing New Horizons. I don't think I can even get to sleep anymore without that game. So I'm going to be playing it forever.
Yeah, it's interesting here about the different routines that people have with it and the different times that people play. I have sort of your routine, but in the morning I use it to, wake up and get going. And some of the shops are not open then, so I need to come back in the afternoon to see what they have. But it seems like everybody's got their own groove with it.
I will say that the second place vote getter, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, is another game that I've enjoyed relaxing to. Although depending on what I'm playing and who I'm playing with, it can either be relaxing or it can actually be
intense.
Very intense. Yeah, if we get really competitive. So I guess that can go either way.
What's one of your relaxing games?
I really like just doing the I forget what they call it in the game, but it's where you have to line up you have to connect vertical or horizontal rows of checkers, basically, red and black checkers. I play that one with my son a lot, and we can just get in a zone where we're just playing game after game after game and not even really keeping track of who's winning or losing.
I do like all the details that went into like the modeling of the pieces, and it's like you can almost like feel it in your hand, and it's like appreciate the texture of it. You can tell a lot of attention went into that.
Yeah, it's for a game that has 51 games in it. I really feel that like each one of them got a lot of nice love and care, and there's a lot of good detail in there. So even if you only ever play it for like your one favorite, I think it's worth it.
Hanafuda. The cards feel good when they like when you put them down on the table. It's like very like snappy.
Yeah.
The other game I want to give a quick little shout out to is I Am Dead, which is one of those, I call these the bedtime games because it's easy to play in bed because it's doesn't have a lot of like, button presses, or you're not trying to do like some complex gameplay maneuver. It's very much like almost like an interactive novel or something like that, where you're going through. The story is very sweet. Also the environment that you're in, which is like this beach town, is really, really nice. There's like a lighthouse, and you basically sort of go through this story, and there's some simple puzzles that you're doing and characters that you're meeting. But it was really nice to play that and unwind with that game as well. So definitely, if anyone's looking for a Sooo with 5 O's relaxing game, I think that's a good one to check out as well.
Absolutely. Moving on to category 9. This one's called What a Story. And the nominees are Hades, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And the winner is Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity.
Yep. Not surprised.
I haven't finished it yet.
I haven't either, and I've been dodging spoilers left and right, so I really need to get on that. But just what I've experienced so far, and like I said, knowing how eager I imagine people like myself were to go back 100 years and really dig more into that story from The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. That was a game I was looking forward to in large part because of the story.
Yeah, I haven't finished either, but I think I'm furthest along between the three of us, I think. Because I feel like I'm getting close to the end, because a lot of stuff has happened. But that story, yeah, exactly. It's actually really robust. It definitely shows you what happened, all the lead up to the Great Calamity. And you're getting to know some of the characters that you sort of get to meet in Breath of the Wild. Just so much more, like the, like all of the champions. And even like King Rome, you kind of see him just a teensy bit in Breath of the Wild, and you get to really understand sort of the different personalities of these characters, what their backstory is, the motivation that they have to stop the Great Calamity. So
I've been playing the Warriors games for a long time, and to me it's really amazing and remarkable that this is the fan pick, because those games are so action first traditionally. But it really speaks to how integrated it is into the Breath of the Wild mythos here, that it could stand out like that.
Yeah, and I've heard some of the spoilers I've been dodging and that have grazed me a little bit. I've gotten the sense that there are some twists and turns, so that there's still some surprises in store as you get closer to the end of the game. So Krysta, maybe after we've finally reached the end, we can all talk about how we feel about what actually happens. I'm actually really excited to find out.
I was going to say the other game in this category that I think deserves a shout out is Hades for story. I think, again, we talked to Greg, and he did a lot of the writing in Hades and did a lot of the narrative. And it's just such a great and cool way to have a story unfold in a game, where you're getting like bits and pieces of it from different people that you're talking to and different characters that you're meeting. And then, of course, every time you beat the game, a new piece of the story unfolds. So even after you beat the game and you've beaten Hades, you're still motivated to go back and beat Hades again and again, just to see, more of that story unfold. So I thought that was super clever, the way that story was handled in that game, and how, it really was a way to motivate the player to keep going even after you may have beaten Hades already.
Yeah, that really surprised me. I thought that once you finish it once, you'll want to play it again just for your own personal satisfaction or to try out the different weapons. But the way that they built in a narrative hook to keep you beating it and unlock more and more of the story was just so smart. And it's really also interesting to see the ways that the game delivers story. It doesn't happen for everybody all at the same pace, and there's some characters that you can talk to that are optional, and there's just so much there. It just seems like, no matter what you're doing, you're always finding out something new.
Yeah, and I really love the characterization of all these, classic mythological gods who you're very familiar with, but these are versions you haven't really seen before, and they can be really funny, and even not just the writing, but the designs can be just really interesting, really cool. And I think that really helps the story, is that all the characters that are involved are really interesting in one way or the other. And I was always looking forward to just meeting that next kind of classic mythological character and seeing what this game's take on it is. I always found that really interesting. But I also want to give a shout out to Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Obviously, this is a game that, it's the original version had appeared on other platforms, but I think that story really holds up, and there's a lot to it. It's a really epic quest, and I've enjoyed going back through it again on Nintendo Switch. Moving on to category number 10, cool character. The choices were Bobby the Bob-omb, Mario, Tom Nook, and Zagreus. And the winner was Mario.
Of course it's Mario.
Very
it's his
appropriate.
year. It's his year. You have to give it to Mario.
Yeah, it is his 35th anniversary year for Super Mario Brothers. It kind of had to be Mario. But would you be shocked if I told you that Mario beat Bobby the Bob-omb by 1 percentage point?
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Bobby the Bob-omb really came out of nowhere, I think, and people connected with Bobby the Bob-omb in an incredible way. I definitely was not expecting that to happen in Paper Mario. It's crazy how you could love a Bob-omb so much. Who knew?
I know. I love how, and you often see this in the Paper Mario series, but how in Paper Mario The Origami King, when Bobby Bob-omb and some other characters show up, they just look like regular fodder enemies for Mario. He looks like just a standard, Bob-omb. And in fact, his name isn't even really Bobby. It's just what,
Olivia calls him. Yeah.
Calls
She's
him.
like made it up.
And, but the story twists that they include him in, and just his overall kind of dialogue and everything and where his story goes is just so surprisingly touching and at times fun and funny too, that I think anyone who's played that game, is going to really fondly remember that guy.
Several people told me that they cried when the thing happened to Bobby.
Wait, what? Don't say it.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying they cried.
Here's all I'm going to say. Bobby is a Bob-omb. What do Bob-ombs do?
You're so heartless and cold.
I want to say a word
this is
about
revealing.
Tom Nook. I
Don't change the subject.
I deeply enjoyed all of the think pieces that came out this year about Tom Nook and, what is Tom Nook's greater role in the world? And, there's that chart of like, chaotic, evil, neutral, all that stuff. Tom Nook is good. I think this was the year where everybody came to that conclusion.
Yeah. I think the Tom Nook campaign was successful this year because it's easy to dismiss him, sometimes. But this year, I think people really understood that his intentions are pure. He wants you to have a beautiful island life. He wants to give that to you. It's very kind. So yeah, I hope that people have a better impression of Mr. Nook.
Tirelessly working for your
Tirelessly.
island. And
24
I always love
hours
it.
a day.
I always love it when I go in there and he and Isabel are doing like calisthenics.
Oh yeah. You can do that now with them.
Yeah.
You have the reaction, the fitness reaction.
Yeah, and for Zagreus, we talked about how in Hades, all the characters are written really well, and that extends to Zagreus as well, who also has great voice acting and was just a great, fresh, new kind of star that appeared this year. But going back to the fan winner, Mario, I want to give him a little extra love. It's an opportunity this year, I think, to look back on. Obviously, Mario got his start in Donkey Kong, which came out even longer ago, back in 1981 in the arcades. But when you look at 35 years of Super Mario Brothers, which was the game that really put Mario on the map for a lot of people, I'm just personally impressed that he's managed to kind of, keep on doing his thing for this long. And, with games that I'm still really, really enjoying, even some that came out this year, like Super Mario Brothers 35. So, tip of the cap to Mario. I'm always looking forward to the next Mario game. And, I love Mario and Mario games as much today as I did, back when Super Mario Brothers first came out. Moving on to the next category, category 11, tough challenge. All of these games provided a nice little challenge for gamers to test their skills with this year. And the nominees were Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Streets of Rage 4, and Super Mario Bros. 35. And the winner, with nearly half the votes, was Super Mario Bros. 35. And I think
kind of
that,
surprised.
I think that speaks to just the nature of the game. Not only is it challenging on its own, just the gameplay challenging, but when you're playing against 34 other players, chances are, a good number of those players are going to be at least as skilled as you, probably better, and probably a little bit of luck has to come into play. And I think probably the toughest accomplishment you can have on this list is consistently or at least somewhat regularly, getting number one in a match on Super Mario Bros. 35.
Chris, when
Chris,
you
you're
play,
a very good player. Oh, you're going to ask Chris the same question I am. Have you gotten first?
that's not my question.
Oh, no. Well, he's going to answer my question
This one
first.
first. Yes,
Aha.
yours first.
I think I've gotten first once, and I've played quite a number of times. I can consistently get to the top 10, top 5, but it is really hard to bring it all the way home at the end when they're dumping truckloads of Goombas on your head,
Yeah.
and everybody else is just as good or better than you are. So it's a fun challenge. So I enjoy the cycle of trying to do it, and then when I get close, it's really exciting.
All right. This is like 20 Super Mario 35 questions with Chris. When you play, do you ever have a feeling like, now I'm going to show these kids what's up? Because you've been playing this game for 35 years. You've got all that experience just built in. And if you're younger, you don't have that.
Way to age Chris with your question.
We've all been playing it.
No, that's the cool thing about this game, though, is it puts such a twist on it that you're not playing Super Mario Brothers the way that you would have, before. So not even that I'm the best at it or some great speedrunner at it or anything, but now you really have to think about not just getting through the level, but about which enemies you're going to actually go after versus run past, which items you're going to grab. Even if you don't need that fire flower, you already have a fire flower, you're going to go out of your way to get that fire flower because it puts extra seconds back on the clock. And so there's a lot of extra strategy that comes into play just in this kind of hybrid mishmash of trying to speed run while still taking the time to grab certain items and defeat certain enemies. So there's a good amount of strategy that honestly I probably don't think about nearly enough when I'm playing this game. I usually just kind of play it by ear, and but it's just a fun cycle. And usually when I'm done and at the end, I'll make the occasional goof, but it's usually not because I fell in a pit or got killed by an enemy. It's usually because I just run out of time and wasn't able to keep
like
grabbing
a
enough
brag.
time boosts. But no, that's the point of the game. So
I'm just kidding.
if I'm not great at that, it's a problem.
Oh my goodness. I've never gotten first. I think the best I've done is third, which is not
That's really good, though.
But it was kind of a fluke, I think. So I think I was just lucky. But that game is extremely challenging, and you're totally right. It's different than like playing a traditional Super Mario Brothers game because there's so many other things to consider, and the unpredictability of 34 other human beings is scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with this game and with Tetris 99, your goal really should just be to make it to the top 50%. I think if you've done that, you're better than half the players you played against, at least in that match. And
Set the bar a little
something
bit
to feel
higher.
good about. Well,
Get a B grade,
once you
Just
consistently get to that top 50, then you start going, okay, now I want to keep making top 25, and
Okay, Coach Chris, got it.
I will say, we've talked a lot about Hades, and it is definitely a fun challenge. I wanted to say, too, Streets of Rage 4 was a game that I'd really been looking forward to because I'm a big fan of the original series. And I found this one to be really challenging, but, of course, in that old-school fun way. And I love all the different kind of enhancements they made to this game. The hand-drawn graphics are amazing. And it's the kind of game where you're constantly unlocking new characters and things, too. So, you really want to overcome these challenges and beat the game, multiple times just to kind of get everything out of it that you can. So I think this game does a good job of striking that balance between really giving you at times a tough challenge, but it's always very rewarding. Moving on to the next to last category number 12. We talked a lot about Mario just now, and this category is all about Mario. It's called 35 Years of Super Mario. Of course, these are all games or products that launched this year, kind of coinciding with the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers. And the nominees were Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and Super Mario Brothers 35. And the winner was Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
Nice.
Overwhelmingly so, 70% of the vote.
Yeah, definitely not surprising. That was also my pick. It's just so great to have all of these like very iconic 3D Mario games in one place. And you get all of the soundtracks as well, which I still listen to sometimes. But yeah, I think this was just the most amazing way to mark the anniversary, to see really how far Mario has come, from where he started. And I'm always surprised at like how many jobs Mario has had throughout the years and all the places that he's been, like what a life he's led, So it was great to see that represented in Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
You and I were playing Super Mario 64 at about the same time, and it was fun to sort of mark our progress of, oh, I got this star, or I'm stuck on this one, and oh, did you know about this secret or that secret? That game just holds up so well.
It does.
And for me, it was really neat to see Super Mario Sunshine in proper HD with widescreen, and that world really came alive. It was just so vibrant and colorful.
Yeah, I love every game in Super Mario 3D All-Stars, but the one that I immediately played all the way through was Super Mario 64, because I still remember playing that game for the first time, and it was such a magical game to me back then, that this huge jump from 2D sprite-based graphics to polygonal 3D worlds. And I really kind of re-experienced all that again because I hadn't played it in years and years. And Krysta, I think you're right. It was a great opportunity to kind of chart the progress. I also played a lot of the original NES and Super NES Super Mario games on Nintendo Switch Online this year too. And it was great just to see, how far he's come and how much all those old games still hold up, at least for me. And, I will say that I thought every nominee on this list there was something about it that for me was a really great way to enjoy this anniversary of Super Mario Brothers in a different way. I've got the Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers system sitting here on my desk. I just like looking at this thing and holding it, and it really takes me back to the old Game & Watch systems when I was a kid.
You were the master unboxer for that system, so of course you have it on your desk.
That was fun doing that little unboxing video. It took me back for sure. And we've talked a lot about Super Mario Brothers 35, and then Mario Kart Live Home Circuit was such a cool idea. So yeah, good job, Mario, giving me a lot of fun stuff to do on your birthday.
Exactly.
Now, the final category, the Player's Game of the Year. The big one. We had extra big list of nominees for this one.
Great list.
I'll go through them now. We had A Short Hike, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Hades, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Paper Mario The Origami King, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Okay, any guesses as to what the fans voted for in this final category?
Oh, man. Animal Crossing has to be up there, right?
I'll give you my unordered top 3 that I think will be in the top 3.
Oh, that's good.
I think Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and Hades?
Okay, well, let's find out. The
I don't know.
winner for the Player's Game of the Year is Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, of course. Everyone must have played this game every single day since March 20th. So
if you ask me across the board, this is the game that I'll remember most from this year. And it was kind of the perfect game for this year. And it was a great way to just kind of relax, kind of enjoy games every day, even to the extent that I could see friends and family that I couldn't, see as much as I wanted to in my regular daily life. It really ticked all the boxes and was the perfect game, I thought.
Yeah. I think it's more than just a game at this point. It's so much like a part of your daily routine now that it just feels odd to have a day where you're not checking in on your island in Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's the way that game has just been like intertwined with my life, and I'm sure many, many, many people's lives this year, is something that's pretty incredible. I don't think maybe any other games has really done that for a long time. So that's a super unique quality of Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I hope that everyone is going to be playing for many more years.
I will admit that coming into this game, in the ramp up to it, the months before it came out, I was actually nervous of like, am I going to enjoy this? Because it's been so long since we'd had a proper Animal Crossing game. And, in those years now I have, more responsibilities in my life. And is this idea of sort of living this virtual life on this island, like, is that still going to be really fun? And obviously this game proved me to be very wrong, because I played it every day for almost 9 months now. And, just kind of the layering and the ongoing things that you can do. It's been so neat to see all of the different events that have been happening, whether it's Halloween or Turkey Day or Toy Day coming up. There really is always something new to do and enjoy, and some new angle of the game to try out.
I also think this game was a perfect fit for Nintendo Switch. I've enjoyed past games in the series on consoles, and, I've really enjoyed them on handheld systems as well. I mean, the ability to really sit down and take some time to play the game on my TV, or just pick up the Nintendo Switch and pop in for quick little tasks that I want to complete in handheld mode, really helps it kind of fit into my daily life in a lot of different ways. So, I think it's kind of the culmination of the series so far, and also, kind of in a way, kind of realizing its full potential finally because of a Nintendo Switch, I think. So, yeah, I think that was kind of the obvious one in this category. But that's not to say that these other nominees weren't all, amazing. My personal favorite might be, and I think I'm being able to say this only because Animal Crossing New Horizons won the fan vote. But the other one for me would be Paper Mario: The Origami King, just because I love this series. It's always so charming and funny, and constantly impressing me with the visuals. And it had my favorite character in Bobby the Bob Hom.
For me, my actual Game of the Year pick was Hades. Again, Animal Crossing, I don't even see it as a game anymore. It's just a part of my life. So we'll just call it that. It's winning a different category as being part of my life forever. But Hades was a game that's really surprised me. I am not really a fan of these types of roguelike games. And like we were talking about before, I'm also like, I can't stick with games that are that challenging for very long. But just everything about Hades just really surprised me. I didn't expect to be so, sucked into the story. I didn't really expect to come to really love all the characters in the game. I definitely didn't think I was going to beat the game, like, ever. Because when I first started playing, I was like, oh my gosh, this game is so hard. There's no way I'm ever going to get to the end. And I ended up beating Hades to the point where the credits rolled. So I was really proud of myself because I really stuck with it. And the game, again, does such a great job of rewarding you little by little and sort of almost teaching you run by run to get better and get to the end. And I really loved it. I thought it was just such a creative and unique game, and had to give it my Game of the Year vote this year.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a deserving pick. And, we've talked a lot about all the other games on this list except Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which I also want to give a shout out to because I've really been enjoying that game. I enjoyed the original version on Wii U, and I think everything that they've added to this version has just made it better and better. And to me, this is the pinnacle of the Pikmin series. And I think if anyone ever wanted to check out the Pikmin series or have ever been, at all curious but haven't actually played one of the games, this is definitely a great one to start with. And there's even a free demo on Nintendo eShop. So, do yourself a favor and give it a shot.
Another game with great water.
Yeah, very good water. All right, now, those are all the categories. But before we go, I wanted to ask each of you if you had maybe a favorite in-game moment of 2020. Something that just really stood out to you in one of these games or any game that, you'll remember as we go into next year. Krysta, you want to start with you?
Sure. So we were talking about playing Super Mario 64, and I think you guys probably already know my deep, dark, shameful secret, but I never had a Nintendo 64, so actually never played Super Mario 64 from beginning to end when the game first came out on Nintendo 64. So I was very determined when Super Mario 3D All-Stars came out that I was going to play this game finally, like many, many, many years later, from beginning to end, and I was going to beat this game. What I didn't realize was how hard Super Mario 64 actually was, because I had a really tough time just getting through it. I loved it. I think it was such a cool experience to actually play it this way from beginning to end for the first time. It was fresh for me. So I'm one of the lucky ones, I think, to get to experience it this way now, on Nintendo Switch. But I definitely struggled. And that moment when I finally beat Bowser, I have been trying to beat Bowser, I think for like 4 or 5 days at this point. I had figured out a way where there was like a secret one-up mushroom that was right where you get kicked out of that boss level or that Bowser level when he like defeats you. And so I would just I had like unlimited tries to keep trying to beat him. So like 4 days had gone by. I'm like, I'm never gonna do this. It's just not gonna happen. I was about to give up. And then I finally beat him and finished the game for the first time. So I was really proud of myself. It was really cool. I see what you guys are talking about. I know it's been a really long time, but it's better late than never. So that has to be my 2020 game moment of the year.
When you finally beat Bowser in Super Mario 64 after shamefully having never done it back in the day, did you feel like you had like somehow corrected the timeline? Like
so.
You'd gone back to the best possible version of your reality?
I think so. I think something clicked after that happened, and maybe all of the bad things have been erased, and now I'm like on the right path again. Like the universe is right once more. So I screenshotted it just so I have that forever. I'm very excited. I was like, should I frame this? This is like a big deal. But yes, I feel good about my life now overall.
Awesome. Well done. Kit, what about you?
Mine was having my birthday in Animal Crossing New Horizons. So my birthday is in late March, which is, and I think everybody will remember that March was when we started to have to stay home, and the realization set in of like, oh, a lot of these things that you would be doing, you're not going to be able to do. And I think at this point, a lot of our listeners have probably had to do a birthday from home in a different kind of way. But for me, it was just a real bummer. And I'm not even a big birthday person in the first place, but it was just like, oh, this kind of stinks. It's my birthday and you can't really do anything. And then I opened up the game for the day, and I went into I got pulled into somebody's house, and they had this whole sort of surprise party set up for me. And it was just really touching to be like, oh, there's different ways that you can do this. And this game is, kind of giving me something that I can't have right now in real life. And it was just very sweet.
That sounds amazing. For me, it was, and we hinted at this before, but we don't want to spoil the exact details. It was what ultimately kind of the resolution of Bobby the Bob-omb's story arc.
Yeah, the resolution of Bobby? This is the name of your rockabilly album.
It's going to be a chapter in my autobiography.
But where his story ends up in Paper Mario: The Origami King, like a lot of the side characters, they're part of your journey. You go along with them, and you even help them kind of achieve certain goals to get them to where they ultimately end up in the game. And I felt like the resolution of Bobby's story was so unexpectedly heartfelt in a game that's mostly known for its comedy, that it really took me off guard and really resonated. And and it was just so well done. And I was a little surprised that it was even in the game, to be honest. But looking back on it now, it was perfect in the game, and the game does have a lot of different tones, even though it is primarily just a lot of fun and very funny. And so, again, I don't want to spoil what happens, but I think anyone who's played the game and reached that point will know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, maybe consider giving the game a look, or at least maybe asking a friend who might have played the game what this is all about, what Bobby's all about, because Bobby's my hero of 2020.
Oh,
We need more Bobbies.
so wholesome in so many ways.
Well, that's it. Thanks so much, Kit and Krysta, once again for coming on the show and helping us remember all the great games that came out this year.
We did it.
Yay! We did it. This has been such a fun tradition for us, and I hope that we can do it for many years to come. But it's always been very fun to talk about and just remember and look back on all the great games that came out this year.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who voted.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody that voted. And now we'll all together just look forward to all the great games coming our way next year.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
That's it for the third year of Nintendo Power Podcast. If you have any comments or questions you'd like us to consider answering on the show, you can email us at nintendopowerpodcast@noa.nintendo.com. Also, we always appreciate it if you can leave a review, and be sure to subscribe so you get new episodes as soon as they're ready. Thanks for listening. Have a great holiday season and keep playing with power.